think you've seen everything in this city. But then you see something like this. They got the name wrong. They should have called it the City of Demons. Some kids found him up behind the Hollywoodland sign. Tom Dillinger, local politician and, by all accounts, frontrunner in the next mayoral race. Let me clarify. They found most of Tom Dillinger. His head was no longer attached to his body and is nowhere to be found. They only made the ID because his wallet was still in his pocket. In case any of you Nancys were planning to squeal to the press, keep your flappers stitched tight. We're keeping that grisly detail from both the public and the family. And by family, I mean the Spades. Spade Construction is the biggest building contractor in the city. They built everything from Wrigley Field to the Olympic Stadium. Franklin Spade is the owner and patriarch of the Spade Empire. He has roots and connections in every major industry and organization in Los Angeles. City Hall, the press, even the mob. Dillinger was married to Franklin's daughter, Madeline, so that's where the Spade connection comes in. The Spade's dominance even extends beyond industry. Archibald Spade is considered the city's best surgeon, and his wife Veronica is an up-and-comer who is Hollywood's latest flavor of the week. She's yet to star in anything noteworthy, but the gossip rags are trumpeting her as the next big thing. I've received calls from every damn one of them wanting to know how the investigation is going. Being Spades, I'm sure they don't give a flying squirrel's ass about Dillinger. They just want to ensure their business interests and reputations remain intact. The Spades are a viper pit that I want you to wade into hip deep. You can find Franklin at the offices of Spade Construction down at the Bradbury Building. Madeline, the newly minted widow, is at her and Dillinger's home in West L.A. Archibald is at L.A. General, and Veronica is at their slick beachside mansion out by Point Furman. A few more details about the crime scene before I cut you loose. A Smith & Wesson .38 Special was found at the scene next to the body. A single bullet had been fired. There was also a woman's shoe, a bright red high heel, size 9. And apart from Dillinger's missing noggin, here's the really strange part. In the dirt were scratched the words, "Find us to find me," as well as 3 symbols. Hell if I know what any of it means. Get me the sick piece of trash that did this. I want him to rot at Terminal Island for the rest of their pathetic life.
Welcome to the City of Angels. Our detectives Grant Shepard, Catherine Carter, and Dirk Marlowe have solved all 3 mysteries so far. But now they are up against the hardest one. Someone has murdered the frontrunner mayoral candidate, and whoever did it left a riddle, a calling card as if begging us to search. As such, the force has sent in another detective, Trixie Jones. She's as sexy as she is persistent. She's come in at a unique time. Though the other detectives have valued their work together, they've become competitive. As such, they're all trying to solve the case faster than each other, utilizing their own resources to get the answer first. This, my friends, is the classic mode of Detective City of Angels. Each player has his and her own money, or scratch, as well as contacts who owe them favors. The Chisel this time has leverage to hold over each detective, as well as a grift, which he plays immediately, the policeman's ball, meaning all detectives have paid into it and start with one less scratch, or money, in the game. Each of the detectives began close to one of the members of the Spade family. We start with Kat, who was in West LA. Of course, being in West LA means she had her own fortune teller, who was able to look into her case. She saw a severed head hidden in a burlap sack hanging under the Sunset Pier. Kat knew who it belonged to, but she played it cool, not going right away to find it. Instead, she went to the mansion where Madeline Spade was living. Striding up to the door, she knocked. As soon as Madeline answered, Kat marched past her, going right to Madeline's closet. She knew she needed to do this immediately, or the evidence would be destroyed.
"What are you doing?"
Madeline screeched. Kat ignored her and dug through Madeline's shoes. They were all size 9, and her favorite color was red. Madeline threatened to have Kat removed, and Kat turned to her and asked bluntly about the Smith & Wesson which was found on the crime scene. Madeline claimed she had never seen it, but she was a terrible liar, and Kat confronted her about it.
"You can speak to my lawyer,"
Madeline said.
"We're done here, detective."
Kat didn't buy it.
"Yeah, sure, Toots,"
she said.
"Now tell me what your husband was up to the night of the murder."
Madeline was indignant, but she knew she would not get out of this, so she admitted,
Tom said he was meeting someone at Griffith Park. I thought it was strange that he was going to Griffith so late at night, but I didn't say anything. I'm sorry, Detective. I don't know who he was meeting with.
Kat sighed and nodded. She reached into her purse. Madeline straightened, ready to escort the detective to the door. Kat pulled out her brass knuckles and said,
I really do hate beating up a woman, especially in her own house.
Okay.
Madeline said.
I must have misremembered. The truth is that Tom not only ruined Papa, he was also screwing Archie's little bitch. I loved Tom, but he was a real bastard.
Thanks, Toots.
Kat said, pinching Madeline's cheek as she strode past her out of the house. Detective Grant Shepard drove up to the back of the Hollywood sign. It was a long, narrow, winding dirt road, but at last he came to the parking spot. As if she was waiting for him was Hildy Johnson, newshawk and reporter for the LA Times. Who is Hildy Johnson, some of you may ask? If you own a copy of Detective City of Angels, you may recognize the picture, but not the character. No, we didn't use a way to create it ourselves. She is a hidden character, packaged somewhere within every box of the game. We found it by accident when we were taking everything apart. You might find that character too if you look hard enough. Anyway, the beat cops were keeping her off the crime scene, but she had seen enough. She knew who had been killed, and the mysterious circumstances around it. The chief wanted to keep this from the press, yet here she was. She approached Shepard, and he met her with a wad of bills. Hildy knew what that meant. She took the money and kept walking to her car. She had the pictures and notes she needed. She would publish the story when she was good and ready, but only after the stream of cash stopped coming. Shepard had not seen the last of her. He looked over the crime scene, the outline of where the body had been, notes of the red shoe and other clues. Finally, he saw the scratches in the dirt the sergeant had spoken of. A cross, a clove, and a diamond. But what could they mean? In a flash of inspiration, Detective Shepard thought they might be locations around the city. From where he was standing, he could see so much of Los Angeles. Find them to find me. Whoever had drawn this had likely seen some locations and decided to lay clues there. Why would a criminal purposely leave clues? Who knew? But when he did know, he would probably have the murderer. He recognized one location which matched one of the designs, the Black Diamond Casino. Shepard hurried back to his car and sped down the hill to it. Going in, he at first saw nothing, but when he sat down for a game of blackjack, the dealer took a long look at him and said,
If you're looking for the Black King, then this is for you.
She handed Shepard a playing card.
This was left at the table the other night with instructions to give it to anyone looking out of place.
Shepard took the card and looked at both sides of it. On the face was the Queen. It read, Steel I cut to. And on the back it read, An equal man, a place to fish, eyes that squint, a home for ships. He also recognized someone at the casino he knew, Sammy Knuckles. Knuckles owed Shepard some money, and, good to his word, he was bringing it to him. Little did Shepard know that he had stolen it from Detective Marlowe. Detective Trixie Jones, meanwhile, was downtown. She went straight to the top, strutting into the Bradbury building and going in to meet with Franklin Spade, monarch of the Spade family. He was not in at the moment, being away at lunch, but he would be back soon. Jones lingered a few minutes, then strode into his office while the assistant wasn't looking. Franklin entered to find her looking over the magazines on his desk.
May I help you?
He asked. Jones didn't miss a beat. She leaned back on the desk, crossed her legs, and said,
I certainly hope so.
Detective Marlowe went to visit Veronica Spade at her villa. She was swimming in her pool out back, so he helped himself into her house and snooped around her bedroom. The closet was massive, an entire room unto itself, with what must have been at least 1,000 pairs of shoes. However, they were all size 7, not a fit to the murder scene. He strode out the back. She seemed only a little startled that he had broken and entered her home.
I suppose you're here to talk to me about Tom.
Marlowe nodded. She spit out the water in her mouth and said,
Well, if you want a juicy tidbit on Tom, look no further than Topsy's. He loved the ladies there.
She laughed and continued,
Or maybe it was Slapsy Maxie's. Or maybe I'm lying to you and he never went either of those places.
She laughed again as she did the backstroke. Marlowe followed her along the edge and said,
Or maybe I go to none of those places and point my suspicions at anyone trying to throw me off.
Veronica stopped and treaded water where she was. She winked at him and said,
Can't blame a girl for trying. The truth is, my husband is as lifeless in the sack as a plank of wood. Tom was a delicious little diversion, and I enjoyed him immensely. To be honest, I'm going to miss him, but I'm sure I'll find something else to occupy me.
She was reflective for only a moment. Then she laughed as she dunked her hair in the water and said,
But I'm sure I'll find something else to occupy me.
She began swimming back the other direction. Marlowe followed and asked,
What do you think Madeline Dillinger thought of that?
Who?
Veronica asked, laughing again. Marlowe didn't laugh with her.
I'm kidding, Detective. But to be very, very frank, Madeline is the most dull person I've ever known, and I'm married to Archie, so that's saying something.
We returned to Kat, to find a giant cat has laid down next to her, covering Ventura County. Anyway, Detective Catherine Carter traveled down to the nearby Sunset Pier to look for the item her fortune teller had told her about. Sure enough, there was the bloody burlap sack hanging under the pier. Near it was a card. On the face was the King of Spades. It read, Save and bleed to heal. And on the back it read, I am the Black King. Who am I? Kat drove back up to Madeline's home. Shepard and Jones had hired snitches who followed her, curiously. They might not have been able to see what happened inside the house, but they didn't need to worry about that. When Madeline opened the door, Kat held up the sack and asked her about it. The chisel tried to block the question, arguing that Madeline did not know what was in the sack. So Kat opened it up so the woman could see. As soon as she laid eyes on the severed head of her dead husband, Madeline's eyes rolled up into the back of her head, and she fainted cold. Kat caught her before her head could hit the floor. Then, uncertain what to do, she dragged the woman into her home, closed the door, picked up the evidence, and walked to her car. The snitches returned to their contacts. Shepard's did not have to go far. He was nearby the botanical gardens. As he wandered through them, unsure what he was looking for, one of the gardeners noticed him and approached.
Are you looking for the king?
He asked. Shepard nodded, and the gardener handed him a playing card. The detective asked him who had given it to him, but the gardener did not know. He received an anonymous letter with a wad of cash and instructions to give the card to anyone who came investigating the gardens. Shepard looked the card over. The face was the Jack of Spades, and it read, Blade without cleansing, and the back read, I show you all and bring you life, but gaze at me and you will weep. The answer's not when I awake, instead it's when I go to sleep. Trixie Jones had Franklin Spade eating out of her hands. She was still sitting on his desk, her legs crossed close in front of him while he sat in his chair. He had already admitted more than he would have liked to her, and it kept pouring out like she was his shrink. He had tried playing off his wealth as a big man, but had to at last admit his business was going under. His only son was a disappointment to him. Though a doctor at LA General, he could have carried on the family business, and maybe it wouldn't be in the shape it's in. He wished he was more like Tom Dillinger. Though Dillinger, he admitted, had been involved in some under-the-table deals. Trixie pulled a couple of magazines that had been under her butt. One a hunting magazine, one about puzzles. She stroked the former down Franklin's injured arm, the one in the sling. He winced. He clearly wasn't faking that.
What are in these fancy rags?
She asked.
Apart from making money, they are my two loves, solving puzzles and hunting.
He looked fondly at the magazine she was touching him with.
I look good in that picture, don't I?
He said.
That's the rifle my father gave me when I was a boy.
You sure know a lot about guns.
She said.
Can you tell me about something called the, Smith and something? It was found at the murder scene.
Smith & Wesson, a .38 special.
He explained. Marlowe had gotten a workout just following Veronica up and down the pool. He was trying to learn about the family, but he had to keep pushing past her flirting. She kept dodging the conversation about her husband, Archie. Finally, she admitted that she was bored with him, and that's why she had a wandering eye. But as she kept talking, she casually mentioned about him coming home late a few nights ago, the night of the murder.
I could swear he had blood on his shirt,
she said casually. Then she dunked under the water. When she came back up, Marlowe asked directly if Tom Dillinger had been one of the people she had been having an affair with.
Damn right, I screwed him, Detective,
she said.
But last time I checked, that wasn't a crime.
She then winked at Marlowe with a sly smile, and swam sinuously and invitingly in front of him. Marlowe wished Veronica a nice day and left, then drank heavily at Topsy's nightclub, shaking down the mobsters inside for protection money, which they paid. Kat had gone to the Stag and Bull for the same reason, bringing the bloody sack along as an unspoken threat. They paid her as well. She found Detective Shepard there, nursing a beer. She marched over to him and plopped her find on the table.
I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
She said. Shepard stared at the blood smear on the burlap sack.
What's inside it?
he asked. Cat raised an eyebrow. So Shepard laid his cards out on the table. Literally. He spread them out so Cat could see all the writing. She dropped the sack on the table and sat down. Shepard looked curiously inside and cringed.
This one's going to be more involved than the others.
Cat said.
The design's in the dirt.
Shepard said.
I believe they lead to clues throughout the city.
You think the killer wants to be found?
She asked.
So it would seem.
He responded.
The diamond was the casino. The clover was the botanical gardens. That leaves the cross.
But also this writing. I am dug with a spade. That could be another park. How about this? I check out Griffith Park. You follow the cross lead. We keep sharing info. We take the credit together.
Shepard agreed. Cat made sure he got a share of the money from the shakedown of the bar, and she headed out to Griffith Park. Detective Shepard returned to the Cathedral of St. Vibiana. Last time he was there, a priest tried to kill him. No such drama this time. He loitered about, expecting someone to approach him. When no one did, he went to speak with a priest, who responded,
No, nothing unusual around here. Have you thought about visiting McCary Memorial? They have a big cross out front that might match what you're looking for.
Frustrated but glad to leave, Shepard returned to the Stag and Bull and had another drink. At the Bradbury Building, Hildy Johnson interrupted the cozy chat Trixie was having with Franklin Spade. Trixie used the distraction of Hildy entering to swipe money from Franklin's pocket. Game mechanics-wise, she used her Wicked Sue card, which allowed her to make a kickback action anywhere. But that's not as fun a story. Anyway, she knew that Hildy had spotted the grab, so she said,
I was just leaving.
And as she walked out, she handed some of the money to the reporter. Trixie then went to City Hall to check on some of Franklin's claims. She strutted in and charmed the clerk at the front desk. She was easy to get gabbing, and she said,
Well, if you want the latest gossip, apparently Councilman Dillinger pressured the building committee to give the courthouse contract to a firm other than Spade Construction. Apparently, Spade needed the contract to stay afloat.
After that, she checked in at the LA Police Department headquarters. Marlowe, meanwhile, went to LA General Hospital. He began by snooping around, not speaking to anyone, but trying to find anything relevant to the case. He was found by Archie Spade, who chastised him for loitering.
This is a place of healing, and right now you're creating chaos,
he said. Marlowe got right to the point, asking Archie about Tom Dillinger.
There are not many clean politicians in Los Angeles,
Archie said.
Tom, unfortunately, was not the exception to that rule. He made many enemies, especially within the mob, Chinatown in particular.
The detective then asked him about his father, Franklin.
My father is an impressive captain of industry. However, even captains must fall at some point. He is in considerable financial distress as of late.
Shepard eventually made it to McCarty Memorial Christian Church. As promised, a large cross stood out front of it. Inside, it was mostly empty, so he sat in one of the pews and looked around. Before long, the minister came up and sat beside the detective.
I was given instructions to say to anyone who looks out of place that this would help them find the Black King,
the minister said, and he handed Shepard a playing card. It was the 10 of spades, and it read on the front, Fear not my, and on the back it read, I am dug with a spade for the cold and the dead, and when time has run out, I'm a spade's final bed. He now had all three from the places that were scratched in the dirt. But what did they mean? The minister walked away, and Shepard laid them all out on the pew. He read each one, trying to piece them with each suspect. He suddenly became aware that someone else was leaning over from the pew behind him. It was Hilda Johnson, reporter from the Times. She had read them all too. Now that she was spotted, she asked,
What do you think it all means, detective?
She eyed him with a knowing smile. She expected her tip to stay silent again. But instead he said,
You go ahead and you publish whatever it is you're going to publish.
He then scooped up all the cards and slid them in his pocket. The commissioner would be angry with him, and Shepard might even lose his job, but he didn't care. He was near retirement anyway. Everyone soon knew about the contents of all the cards. Also, Trixie was gathering all the information that everyone was reporting to headquarters. She combined it with what she already knew. While there, she asked Sergeant Burroughs about Franklin Spade reporting a gun missing. He hadn't. Figures. She headed out. Marlowe was surprised at the sudden appearance of Cat at the hospital. Her shoes had mud on them. She would later explain she had just been at Griffith Park. She shoved past Marlowe with a bloody sack and opened it, asking Archie about it. He didn't want to answer, and Cat gave him a threatening look.
I've seen worse on the operating table, but I am at a loss as to why you would try and horrify me with this, detective.
Cat got pushy, and it only caused Archie to push back.
Detective, this is unseemly. You should be ashamed of yourself.
For once, Kat had nothing more to say. Marlowe asked about the Smith & Wesson. Archie told him it belonged to his sister.
I never enjoyed blood sport like my father did, but he found a willing pupil in Madeline.
Now on the topic of his family, Marlowe asked about them. Archie got dodgy, saying he had work to do. It was really the chisel using leverage on him. Kat left and went down the street to LA Police Headquarters. She did the same thing Trixie had and got the information the other detectives had been gathering. She needed a little more cash, so she went over to Topsy's and shook them down. Shepard went into Franklin Spade's office and asked him about John Dillinger, that he heard he was involved in the mob in Chinatown. Shepard went to Chinatown afterward and was annoyed to find Hildy Johnson had followed him. Rather than confronting her, the cat was already out of the bag, so she might as well tag along. So he asked about John Dillinger's mob connections around the area and found that he had not been spotted in the neighborhood in anyone's memories. Trixie, meanwhile, arrived at the Inglewood Cemetery, shovel in hand. She had gone over what was written on the cards. To her, they seemed to mean to dig something up where people had their permanent sleep. She found that the Spades had a plot there, so she began digging it up. She was rewarded with an important find, a Winchester Model 70 rifle. She took it right over to Franklin's office and carried it in, mud still clinging to it. Shepard was still there, and Cat Snitch made it in, pretending to deliver flowers. He looked at it proudly, like a grandfather congratulating a little girl.
Let me see that. Yes, this is a Winchester Model 70, a classic hunting rifle.
Enough with the dodging, Grandpa,
Trixie said.
Is it yours or not? Fess up.
Shaken, Franklin went pale.
Where did you find that? I could have sworn that
He quickly shut his mouth and refused to say anything else.
I think it's time that I spoke with my lawyer.
The two detectives were kicked out of the office, and they spoke with one another. They traded a bit of information, but held back some of the most important clues. They were still competing with one another, after all. Marlowe arrived and joined them. He added a bit of information about the doctor, but was still cagey. They were running out of time, but each of them wanted the credit, so they continued to keep a little bit close to the chest while they gathered what they could from each other. Kat took the bloody rags she had found to Archie. Marlowe's snitch followed her. Archie just shrugged and said,
The day after Tom was killed, my sister called me and said father was hurt. I went to his house and discovered he had been shot in the arm. I removed the bullet and bandaged him up. I didn't ask who had shot him or why.
Speaking of guns, she asked about the rifle Trixie had dug up. Archie claimed to have never seen it before, and that she should talk with his father about it.
I'm not talking to your father right now, Toots. I'm talking to you. So you want to answer? Or you want one of your friends to stitch you up?
Archie's face boiled red, and he said,
That is my father's hunting rifle. He keeps it above the mantel at his precious mansion. I believe he spent more time with it than he's ever spent with me.
Since they were on the topic of guns, Kat asked him about the Smith & Wesson special. He told her he believed it belonged to his sister.
I never enjoyed blood sport like my father did, but he found a willing pupil in Madeline.
A broad smile grew across Kat's face, and she patted Archie on the cheeks.
Thanks, Toots. You're a doll.
She went downstairs and called Shepard, telling him what she learned. He went directly over to Madeline's house. She didn't answer when he knocked, so he looked through the window and saw her lying unconscious. He burst in and woke her up, getting her water so she could sit up. When he asked what had happened, she began to describe it, and he immediately understood, so he changed the subject, asking about the pistol. She seemed to not remember. Shepard got her to the couch so she would feel more comfortable. Asking about the rifle. She first just said it was her father's and she didn't know much about it, but he persisted. When persistence turned into confrontation, Madeline became defensive, and she threatened to lawyer up the same way she had with Kat, repeating to him as she had to her,
We're done.
Since Trixie and Marlowe were alone, they discussed what they knew. Both of them were aware that Kat and Shepard had made an alliance, so they made their own, opening up all the information to each other. Marlowe thought it would be a good idea to talk to Archie about the bloody rags, while Trixie thought it would be a good idea to go over some of the latest evidence with Veronica. They would send their snitches to listen on what the others were learning from Madeline. So they separated, Marlowe taking the rags to Archie and learning that Kat had already asked about them. He was behind on the information. Trixie went to Veronica, meanwhile, and found that the woman swung both ways, flirting with her as much as she had Marlowe. She seemed to know nothing they didn't already know. Kat arrived soon after to ask some questions, and Veronica beamed.
Ooh, a threesome. How fun!
She asked questions as well, many of them the same ones Trixie had already asked. Veronica was confused. Wouldn't they share information with one another? It didn't matter. Hildy arrived as well, and Veronica saw a great opportunity for a pajama party. Shepard was still at Madeline's house, refusing to leave.
What are you going to do, call the police?
He asked.
Now you're going to answer some questions here, or downtown. Which is it going to be?
Madeline calmed and told him to ask away. He asked about her father's interest in puzzles, and she told him,
When I was young, Papa would take me hunting. Meanwhile, we would come home, sit in front of the fire, and solve riddles and puzzles together. Those are some of my fondest memories.
He asked her about her late husband and about Veronica, getting a picture of an affair, and finally, about Archie. She gave the impression that his marriage with Veronica was on the rocks. Shepard was getting a pretty clear picture of what he believed happened. Marlowe, meanwhile, was speaking with Archie. In asking about the other siblings, he found that Archie lied every time, and when pressed, he talked about them being favored over him. And finally, when pressed about his father, Archie said,
I was never good enough for him. Veronica wasn't good enough for him. He only had eyes for my sister, and that dolt she married.
Time was up. The detectives had to file their reports. Shepard and Kat split on who they thought did it. Shepard accused Madeline Spade, using the 38 Special, and doing it out of jealousy for the affair. Kat accused Franklin Spade, using the rifle, and doing it because of his business. Marlowe and Trixie accused together, and they pointed at Archie, claiming he used the rifle, and it was out of a need to be noticed by his father. The DA took it away, reviewed all the evidence, and the next day, the detectives were called in by their sergeant.
Tom Dillinger lit a cig and took a deep drag. The view of the city behind the Hollywoodland sign was one of the best he'd ever seen. It was a bit out of the way for a meeting, but Franklin had insisted. The man was his father-in-law. He at least owed him that much. As chair of the city planning committee, Tom had intended to award the contract for the new federal courthouse to Spade Construction. Madeline was pushing him to do it, and Franklin thought he was all but guaranteed it. But then, Veronica entered the picture. Tom wasn't an idiot. He knew Veronica was a manipulative vixen, only interested in herself. But he didn't care. He was intoxicated with her, and it wasn't long before they were seeing one another every spare moment they could find. When Veronica subtly began to suggest that perhaps Spade Construction shouldn't be awarded the contract, that Franklin was an egotistical maniac who was simply using him to line his already deep pockets even further, and that Madeline was a cold fish, more interested in being a Spade than a Dillinger, Tom allowed himself to be convinced. He pushed the committee to give the contract to another firm. When the news broke, Franklin had asked, no, that's not the right word. He had begged for this meeting. Headlights announced Franklin's arrival. The elder Spade killed the engine, got out, walked around, and leveled his prized rifle, a Winchester Model 70, right at Tom's head.
Really? Franklin, you gonna shoot me?
Tom chuckled, took another drag on the cig. There was desperation in Franklin's voice when he spoke.
Give Spade the contract, Tom. Do the right thing. We've overextended ourselves, and I'll lose everything if we don't get the courthouse.
Tom shook his head.
Sorry, Frank. It's a done deal. Committee's already voted, and there's nothing I could do.
Franklin grimaced.
Then die, you son of a bitch!
The gunshot rang out suddenly, and Tom dropped his cigarette in surprise. Madeline had suspected for weeks that Tom and Veronica had been seeing one another, but she had chosen to remain in denial. Her Tom wouldn't really be shacking up with that witch Archie had married, would he? Tom's shocking decision to give the courthouse contract to another firm had sealed it for her. Veronica was screwing her husband and had poisoned him against the family. She loaded her revolver and followed him up the winding road to the Hollywoodland sign, convinced that she would find him with Veronica. Instead, she found her father leveling his hunting rifle right at Tom's head. Despite his failures and betrayals, she still loved Tom. Almost without thinking, she shot her father in the shoulder.
Oh, Papa, what have I done?
Madeline dropped the gun and ran to where Franklin had fallen, losing one of her heels in the process. Tom was shocked to see her.
Madeline? What are you doing here?
He wasn't sure whether it was Madeline's sudden appearance or that she had shot her father in the shoulder that had shocked him more. Madeline turned on him as she helped her father up.
I know about you and Veronica, you bastard.
She managed to get Franklin into the back seat of the car. Tom tried to approach her.
No! I love you, Tom, but don't you dare speak to me.
She got into the car and took off.
I'm so sorry, Papa. I'm so sorry.
Madeline knew if she took Franklin to the hospital, there'd be too many questions. So she drove her father home and called Archie instead. She couldn't reach him at his home or at the hospital, but she left messages, and the next morning he showed up with his medical kit.
He's in here, Archie. Papa's been shot.
Archie quickly went to work, removing the bullet from Franklin's shoulder and stitching him up. After an hour, Franklin regained consciousness and opened his eyes.
Oh, look at that. You're finally good for something around here.
Archie was used to this.
You're welcome, Father.
The old man glared at him.
And where the hell were you last night? I could have bled to death.
I had business to attend to. Very important business. Business with Tom Dillinger. Archie knew about the meeting between Tom and his father and had watched everything play out from the shadows. After his sister sped away, with their wounded father in the back seat, Archie walked up to Tom and slapped him on the back. Tom practically jumped out of his shoes.
Archie, you almost gave me a heart attack. You're here too? What the hell's going on?
Archie wanted to say that he was tired of his father ignoring him and his accomplishments for years. He wanted to say that he had only married Veronica because he thought it would please his father, only to discover that the Spades universally loathed her. He wanted to say that he was fed up with being invisible to the only man whose opinion he truly cared about. Instead, he walked over to his father's hunting rifle, picked it up, and aimed it at Tom. Tom started backing away.
Hey, if this is about Veronica, I can explain. That's just not what you think.
Archie barked out a harsh laugh.
It's exactly what I think, Thomas. But this isn't about Veronica. Although I imagine that's hard for you to believe.
And then Archie shot Tom in the head. He stared at the body for an hour before he calmly set about removing Tom's head. Since his father loved puzzles and riddles so much, Archie decided that he would give him the ultimate puzzle to solve, leaving a trail of riddles and clues across the city. Archie ended his evening standing in front of the Spade plot, looking into the empty grave that would be his father's final resting place. Taking the rifle, he smashed it against the gravestone until the barrel was bent, and then he tossed it into the grave.
You'll see me now, Father. I won't be a disappointment. I won't be invisible. I am your son, your flesh and blood, and you will know that I am here. I am the Black King, and you will know that I exist.
This concludes Detective City of Angels. We hope you enjoyed our series. Be sure to subscribe for more games from us. And happy gaming, everybody. Did you enjoy this video? Well, if you want to see more, be sure to subscribe and watch our other videos. Also, check out our website in the description to see what games we're developing and what we've recently released. Right now, we're preparing our Kickstarter for Sanctuary, the game of cat rescue. That link is also in the description, unless you're watching later, in which case you can hopefully go buy it. In the meantime, happy gaming, everybody.